everyone. Our today's topic is chemical equation. A chemical equation is the symbolic representation of a chemical reaction by using the symbols and formulae of the substances involved in the reaction. So whenever we will write the symbols and the formulae of the substances which are involved in the reaction and also of the product which will be formed, and then that symbolic representation of the chemical reaction is known as the chemical equation. A chemical equation is the symbolic representation of the chemical reaction. Let's take an example. Here we are writing about a word equation. When the coal is burnt in the presence of oxygen. Coal is a form of carbon only. So when carbon and oxygen reacts, when coal is burned in the presence of oxygen, then a new substance, carbon dioxide, is formed here. So this is the word equation where the spelling of carbon, oxygen and carbon dioxide is used. But when we will write the symbol of carbon, that is C, formula of oxygen, O2, and the formula of the substance carbon dioxide, CO2, then this is the symbolic representation of a chemical reaction, and therefore it is called as the chemical equation. So we can say that chemical equation is the symbolic representation of the chemical reaction by using the symbol and the formulae of the substances which are involved in the reaction and also of the substance which will be formed in the reaction. So the next topic is the steps involved in writing the chemical equation. For discussing these steps, first of all we should know that what are reactants and products. The substances which are involved in a reaction are called as the reactants, whereas the substances which are formed as a result of the reaction, they are called as the products. Let's take one example. Sodium reacts with water to form sodium hydroxide and hydrogen. Here sodium is reacting with water to form sodium hydroxide and hydrogen. Therefore sodium and water are reactants and sodium hydroxide and hydrogen are the products formed. Therefore the first step which is involved in writing a chemical equation is, towards left hand side we write the symbol or the formula of the reactants involved, and in between each reactant we use the plus sign. Towards right hand side we will write the symbols or the formulae of the products formed and with the plus sign in between them. Then in order to separate the reactant side and the product side, we put an arrow between the reactant and the product side. Now the next topic is types of chemical reaction. Chemical reactions can be of different types, means it can involve one reactant, more than one reactant, one product, more than one product. So we will discuss all of these points only here. A chemical reaction may involve, first is one reactant and two or more products. Let's take an example. Here the reactant is only calcium carbonate. It undergoes thermal decomposition reaction, means when it is decomposed in the presence of heat, then it decomposes to give out calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. So here only one reactant is there and two or more products are formed, but in this case we will see only two products are formed. Then in the second case we have a chemical reaction can have two reactant and one product. Here two reactants are nitrogen and hydrogen. They react to form ammonia. So here two reactants are there and one product is there. In the third case, a chemical reaction can have two reactants and two products. Example, sodium sulfate and barium chloride react to form barium sulfate and sodium chloride. So here two reactants are there and two products are there. Then in the fourth case we have a chemical reaction can have two reactant and three products. Here copper and sulfuric acid reacts to form copper sulfate, water and sulfur dioxide. So here two reactants are there and three products are there. So the next topic is skeleton equation. A chemical equation in which the total number of atoms of each element on the two sides are not equal. Means a skeleton equation is an equation in which the total number of atoms of each element on the reactant side and the product side are not equal. Let's take an example. In this reaction, potassium nitrate is the reactant and the products are potassium nitrite and oxygen. So in this reaction you can see that the number of oxygen atoms in the reactant side are 3. 3 oxygen atoms are here, whereas in the product side the total number of oxygen atoms are 4. 2 are here in potassium nitrite and 2 are here. So overall there are 4 oxygen atoms in the product side, whereas 3 oxygen atoms are there in the reactant side. So we can say that since the number of oxygen atoms are not equal in the reactant side and the product side, and therefore the given equation is an skeleton equation. Next is balanced equation. Balanced equation is the equation in which the total number of atoms of each element on the two sides are equal. स्केलेटन इक्वेशन में क्या था कि हर एक एलिमेंट के जो नंबर ऑफ एटम्स थे रिएक्टेंट साइड में और प्रोडक्ट साइड में अगर इक्वल नहीं है तो वो केमिकल इक्वेशन कैसी इक्वेशन है, एक स्केलेटन इक्वेशन है. लेकिन अगर किसी भी रिएक्शन में किसी भी केमिकल इक्वेशन में अगर हर एक एलिमेंट के नंबर ऑफ एटम्स रिएक्टेंट साइड में और प्रोडक्ट साइड में इक्वल है, then that reaction is called as the balanced reaction. That chemical equation is called as the balanced equation. Next, let's take an example. Here calcium carbonate decomposes to give out calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. Now in this equation you can see that the number of atoms of calcium, carbon and oxygen in the reactant side are equal to their atoms in the product side. Means in the reactant side also one atom of calcium is there, in the product side also only one atom is there. Same way the atom of carbon in the reactant side is also one, and the atom of carbon in the product side is also one. Number of atoms of oxygen in the reactant side are 3. Whereas in the product side also the number of oxygen atoms are 3. One is here and 2 are here. So overall there are 3 oxygen atoms in the product side also. And therefore since the number of atoms of all the 3 elements calcium, carbon and oxygen are same on both the sides, the given reaction is a balanced reaction. The given chemical equation is a balanced chemical equation. Now the next topic is how to balance a chemical equation. Now one question is there, why should an equation be balanced? एक equation को balanced क्यों होना चाहिए? An equation must be balanced in order to follow the law of conservation of matter, which states that matter is neither created nor destroyed. And if an equation is unbalanced, then it means that the atoms which are unequal on the reactant side and the product side, it indicates that if an equation is unbalanced, then atoms are either created or destroyed, and therefore this unbalanced equation will not follow the law of conservation of matter, and therefore we balance a chemical equation in order to comply with the law of conservation of matter. Now there are two methods of balancing a chemical equation. First is hit and trial method and the second one is partial equation method. In your syllabus only hit and trial method is there. This partial equation method is not in syllabus right now. So in the hit and trial method, first of all what we do, we count the number of atoms of each element in the reactant side and in the product side. And then if the number of atoms of each element are not equal on both the sides, then we try to equalize them. Let's take one reaction here. We have taken a reaction in which copper and sulfuric acid reacts to form copper sulfate, sulfur dioxide and water. Now this is an unbalanced reaction. You can see here that in the reactant side the number of copper atoms are 1. In the product side also number of copper atoms are 1 only. जब यहाँ नीचे कुछ mentioned नहीं है, it means that there is only 1 atom of copper also. So here in this reaction not all the elements but some of the elements are there which are not balanced. First of all we will find them by counting the number of atoms of each element in the reactant side and in the product side. So here copper is balanced. Both are having one in the reactant side also 1 atom is there and in the product side also 1 atom is there. You can see now hydrogen. 2 atoms of hydrogen are there in the reactant side and in the product side also 2 atoms. This 2 is representing 2 atoms of hydrogen. So hydrogen is also balanced here. Now just see sulfur. This molecule of H2SO4 contains 2 atoms of hydrogen, 1 atom of sulfur and 4 atoms of oxygen. So in the reactant side overall the number of sulfur atoms are 1. If nothing is mentioned then it means that the number of sulfur atoms are 1 here. And in the product side you can see 1 sulfur atom is here, 1 sulfur atom is here. So overall in the product side the number of sulfur atoms are 2 and in the reactant side the number of sulfur atoms are 1 only. तो जिस तरफ number of atoms कम होते हैं हम उस तरफ increase करते हैं and then we try to equalize the number of atoms on both the side. So what we will do, since the total number of sulfur atoms in the product side are 2 and in the reactant side only 1 sulfur. So since the number of sulfur atoms are 1 in the reactant side and 2 in the product side. तो जैसे मैंने बताया जिस तरफ number of atoms कम होते हैं उस तरफ हम multiply करते हैं. So we will multiply by 2 in H2SO4 because copper and hydrogen atoms are equal. And therefore to balance sulfur we will multiply H2SO4 by 2. After multiplying H2SO4 by 2 the equation will be as Cu plus 2H2SO4 gives out CuSO4, SO2 and H2O. Now when this H2SO4 is multiplied by 2 तो फिर इस 2 के मल्टीप्लाई करने से सिर्फ सल्फर के नंबर ऑफ एटम्स 2 नहीं हुए, हाइड्रोजन के नंबर ऑफ एटम्स भी इंक्रीज हुए और ऑक्सीजन के नंबर ऑफ एटम्स भी इंक्रीज हुए. पहले हाइड्रोजन के एटम्स कितने थे? इन द बिगिनिंग देयर वर 2 हाइड्रोजन एटम्स. नाउ व्हेन 2 इज मल्टीप्लाइड हियर देन इट मींस दैट 2 इज मल्टीप्लाइड विद ईच एलिमेंट. नाउ द टोटल नंबर ऑफ हाइड्रोजन एटम्स आर 4. टोटल नंबर ऑफ 2 and 2 we will multiply 2 into 2 we will get 4. तो हाइड्रोजन के एटम्स कितने हो गए और 4 हो गए. सल्फर के एटम्स कितने हैं? 2 ही हैं. और ऑक्सीजन के एटम्स कितने हो गए? ऑक्सीजन के पहले 4 एटम्स थे. जब 2 का आगे मल्टीप्लाई कर दिया देन इट मींस दैट अब जो ऑक्सीजन के एटम्स होंगे वो हो जाएंगे 2 4 जा 8. सो टोटल नंबर ऑफ ऑक्सीजन एटम्स आर 8 here. Now in the product side you can see हाइड्रोजन एटम्स कितने हैं? केवल 2 है. सल्फर तो बैलेंस हो गया, सल्फर के नंबर ऑफ एटम्स कितने हैं? 2 है इधर और यहाँ पे भी 2 है. कॉपर के 1 एटम है इधर है, यहाँ पे भी 1 एटम है. लेकिन हाइड्रोजन एटम्स चेंज हो गए. नाउ हियर 4 atoms of hydrogen are there, 2 is here and 2 is here. So overall there are 2 2s are 4 atoms of hydrogen in the reactant side, and therefore in order to make the number of hydrogen atoms equal to 4, what we will do, we will multiply by 2 in H2O, and therefore what in the next step we will write multiply by 2 in H2O in the right hand side. So you can write multiply H2O by 2 in the right hand side. So finally we will get the equation as Cu plus 2H2 SO4 gives out CuSO4 plus SO2 plus 2H2O. Now you can check the number of atoms of each element once again in order to confirm that the given equation is balanced or not. So again you will see the number of atoms of copper in the reactant side is 1, in the product side is also 1. Number of atoms of hydrogen are here 4, 2 2 जा 4. टोटल एटम्स कितने हैं हाइड्रोजन के यहाँ पे 4 है और यहाँ पे भी 2 2 जा 4. So therefore total number of hydrogen atoms are also equal in both the sides. Number of sulfur atoms कितने हैं यहाँ पे 2 है. ये जो 2 है वो हर एक एलिमेंट के एटम्स के लिए है, तो यहाँ पे सल्फर के एटम्स भी कितने हैं 2 ही है, क्योंकि यहाँ पे नीचे तो 1 लगा हुआ है. अगर कोई नंबर नहीं दे रखा इट मींस दैट 1 is here. When we will multiply 2 by 1 then we will get 2 only, and therefore the number of sulfur atoms in the reactant side is 2 और प्रोडक्ट साइड में भी कितने हैं 2 है. 1 is here and 1 is here. Oxygen atoms you can check 2 4s are 8. So overall oxygen atoms in the reactant side are 8. प्रोडक्ट साइड में भी टोटल ऑक्सीजन एटम्स कितने होने चाहिए 80 होने चाहिए. यहाँ पे कितने हैं 4 है. 2 oxygen atoms are here and this 2 is representing the atoms of hydrogen also and oxygen also, and therefore 2 oxygen atoms are here also. So we can count total 4 plus 2 6 plus 2 8, and therefore the number of oxygen atoms are also balanced, and therefore the given equation is now a balanced equation. Let's take one more example. Here iron and water reacts to give out ferric oxide and hydrogen. So in this reaction again, in order to balance this reaction, ये क्या है अभी एक skeleton equation है. This is an skeleton equation, and therefore in order to balance the given equation, we will count the number of atoms of each element in both the sides. Here the number of in the reactant side the number of iron atoms are 1 only, and in the product side the number of iron atoms are 2. The number of hydrogen atoms here in the reactant side are 2, and in the product side also there are 2 atoms of hydrogen. In the reactant side the number of oxygen atoms are 1. Nothing is written, it means that only 1 atom of oxygen is there, and in the product side 3 atoms of oxygen are there. So in order to balance this, now we came to know that this is a skeleton equation. In order to balance this equation, first of all we will balance the iron. In the reactant side 1 atom of iron is there, and in the product side 2 atoms of iron are there. So as I have told you, the side where the number of atoms are less, that side we multiply. So we will multiply by Fe by 2 in the reactant side. We will get 2 Fe plus H2O gives out Fe2O3 plus H2. Now iron is balanced here. Number of iron atoms became 2 both the sides. Now we will see the oxygen atoms, because oxygen atoms are also not balanced. Here 1 atom of oxygen is there and here 3 atoms of oxygen are there. So again we will multiply by 3 in water molecule. Multiply H2O by 3. So we will get 2Fe plus 3H2O gives out Fe2O3 plus H2. Now iron is balanced and oxygen is also balanced. You can see 3 atoms of oxygen are here and 3 atoms of oxygen are here. As I have told you, whenever a number is multiplied by a molecule, then the atoms of each element which are present in that molecule increases. Here when water is multiplied by 3, then atoms of hydrogen are also increased and atoms of oxygen are also increased. Atoms of hydrogen now became 2 were there, and now when it is multiplied, when this molecule is multiplied by 3, then the number of hydrogen atoms became 3 2 6. That is 6 hydrogen atoms are there, and the number of oxygen atoms are 3 into 1, because nothing is written here, it means that 1 is there. So 3 into 1, 3 oxygen atoms are there. ऑक्सीजन एटम्स तो बैलेंस्ड हैं, लेकिन अब रिएक्टेंट साइड में हाइड्रोजन एटम्स कितने हो गए? 6 हो गए. 6 हाइड्रोजन एटम्स आर देयर, whereas in the product side only 2 atoms of hydrogen are there. So what we will do? We will multiply by 3 in the product side, and now the given equation is balanced. 2 atoms of iron, 2 atoms of iron, 3 2 6, 6 atoms of hydrogen, 3 2 6, 6 atoms of hydrogen both the sides, 3 atoms of oxygen and 3 atoms of oxygen. So finally the given equation is balanced.